Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Workers' Mic, powered by MCL right here on 720 WGN. I'm Ed Maher from the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, and here with me is Phil Davidson from the Mid-America Carpenters Regional Council. What's happening, Phil?
Hey, good morning, Ed. How are you?
I'm still coming down from Halloween. You know, I spent enough time digging through the kids' candy, that I had to finally cut myself off.
Yeah, this was a dangerous Halloween because not a lot of activity at my house.
Right.
And we had a bowl out there, and so obviously that all comes back inside, and all the other candy I have to steal from my kids. Like, yeah, it's been a rough week.
Seriously. Yeah, we had all the kids' candy, and then the bowl of candy bars that we bought from Costco that nobody got into. So if you like Butterfingers, I can bring you some.
You got a guy? Okay.
Yeah, I might know somebody, but I've got to get him out of my house because even Ben, our show producer, called me fat this morning. So apparently I went a little too hard on Halloween. So I'm gonna make a note for next year.
That was noted.
Yeah,
they will hear from your attorney, I know. But hey,
I'm just going to try and exhibit a little bit of demonstrate some caution, a little restraint next year. So that's my plan. But actually, we got a lot of good feedback from last week's show. I had heard from a handful of people about the segment with the pharmacist from Walgreens.
Yeah, that's kind of become very popular right now. More walkouts happening. I just heard a story about it on Marketplace on NPR. I think it's catching a lot of national attention.
Yeah, I think the National Pharmacists Association was the name of it, but it falls under the umbrella of LIUNA, the laborers union. And it was eye-opening because I think a lot of folks didn't realize that pharmacists don't make enormous money, like surgeon-level money, and that they pay an extremely large amount of money for basic health care and things like that.
Yeah, and how few of them are unionized.
Right.
Working for these, conglomerates with billions of dollars, as we talked about before, in an industry that's a $1 trillion industry,
right.
The pharmaceutical
Drugs.
industry. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of makes the world go around these days. So, yeah, hope they can get organized because as is evidenced by all the other recent labor strikes happening, like when you rally and you organize, you can get stuff done.
That's for sure.
And you can make some progress. So
yeah, said Sean Fain from UAW, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in this segment.
Yep.
So we have a guest coming in later in the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Tim Holubik comes to us from, he's a union firefighter with Local 2, Chicago firefighter, and then he's also a financial advisor for Megent Financial, friend of the show, and he's going to talk about basically the financial advice he can provide for blue-collar workers,
nice.
People from unions, about what the opportunities are out there for them. That's provided especially to members of the MCL. This is something they should definitely take advantage of. Some of the services are free of charge, and there's also services you could buy into. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from him.
Awesome, yeah. So why don't we get into some of the big union news of the week? And this was happening last week, and I think it's kind of carried on into this week, where the UAW had its enormous strike that's been going on for over a month with the big three U.S. automakers. We've talked about it a number of times here on the show. And they began reaching settlements late last week and carried through the weekend. But one of the outcomes that I think was particularly interesting and important to the region was the settlement that they reached with Stellantis. And for all of you who aren't familiar, Stellantis is the parent company that operates Dodge, Chrysler. Is Chrysler still a brand?
Yep,
I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, Dodge,
300, baby.
Chrysler, that's right.
Ram
and
trucks.
Jeep.
Yeah, Ram trucks are apparently like wildly profitable. Didn't know that. That's like their top-selling automobile.
There's so much loyalty with truck guys.
Yeah.
And I'm going to out myself as not a truck guy, at least not yet. Maybe one day. But people who are Ram guys are just Ram guys, Ford guys, and GMC. I don't know. But whatever you like, they got deals with everybody. But the Stellantis deal included reopening the plant out in Belvedere. If you've ever taken 90 out to Rockford, you've seen that enormous, it used to be a Chrysler, it used to be Dodge.
You can see it right off the highway.
Yeah, they made like Neons, they made Jeeps. But back in February, they shut the plant down, and there were about 1,300 people who worked there who some of them got transferred, but most of them were just laid off.
Yep.
And that's a huge deal because Belvedere is not a huge town. It's a little bit of a rural area. So
yeah.
when you wipe out 1,300 jobs, people feel that.
That's
and
a
there aren't
huge
lot of other
economic
places to
impact,
go.
right? Yeah.
So as a term of the settlement of the strike, they are reopening that plant. And not only are they reopening the plant, they're going to manufacture electric vehicles there, but they're also going to build a battery plant at that location. So,
Yeah.
it took 1,350 jobs, I think, that were eliminated back in February, and now it's going to be bringing back 3,000 jobs.
That's huge. Yeah, that's progress. That's what this is all about. That's why strikes are effective.
That's right.
And I think when you shut down a factory, in most instances, like, it's never coming back. And
Right.
for this thing to be resurrected and then to bring in even more jobs, I mean, it is. I mean, it's a miracle.
Right. The UAW president of that local said, when a plant is shut down and they take some of the employees and ship them out to other facilities, that's a sign that it's not coming back.
Never.
And so I think the workers out in Belvedere were feeling that, and this is an enormous relief to them because it's doubling the jobs that were there before. So it's a new sort of outcome for a strike, because when you think of a union strike, it's generally all about protecting people who are working there currently, protecting them from losing something, maybe trying to make some forward progress on wages, but you're not just protecting jobs, protecting conditions. You're creating jobs.
Creating new ones,
restoring jobs.
Yeah,
that were
you're
lost.
diversifying the union with this one.
So that's a huge deal. And early on in the strike, they were talking about the negative economic impact of any kind of strike, and here we are. They have created jobs. There's a positive economic impact. I mean, some of these automakers lost money while they were out on strike, but there's going to be 1,500 or 1,700 brand new jobs, not to mention the construction jobs that will come from building this battery plant. So it's a really exciting outcome, and I think it sets a very interesting precedent for the future. Along with the UAW industry, we've talked on the show also about how some of these companies are doing joint ventures with electric companies to do battery plants.
Right, which you need to have nearby the car manufacturing facility.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're doing one that was announced a while back out in New Carlisle, Indiana, which is right by South Bend.
Okay.
And the workers there were just aggravated because they're saying, like, we're building the batteries. We're going to be building the batteries for these vehicles, and we don't get paid anything near what the people who are assembling these vehicles make. Like, it's a new industry, and so they're just being kind of taken advantage of. So part of this settlement with, I want to say it was with GM, but I think it was with all three, is that any of these joint venture battery companies, the workers there are going to get no less than 75% of the top scale for the assembly workers. And then Sean Fain said, when we redo this contract in 2028, we'll get everybody in as full members. So he sounds pretty confident, and I will say he's got reason to be.
Yeah, this has been a very impressive campaign that he's put together, and what he's been able to achieve for his members is astonishing.
Right.
So good for him. And then, as we talked about, immediately after all the agreements were made with the big three, Toyota, who's notoriously non-union, raised its employees' salaries by 9%. And we like to talk about how unions, are a rising tide lifts all boats. Like, this is because of this union activity, we're helping people who aren't even in the union, who are non-union auto workers, receive raises themselves. So that's, when we talk about the unions, it's not just helping members; it's helping the middle class.
Right.
It's helping working people, and and I know Sean Fain and people from UAW have said, all right, we're going after those guys next. So in Tesla is in their sights, and go get them.
Yeah. Well, it's a very, very good point about Toyota, because the total increase over the term of the contracts for the UAW facilities is around 33%. And I think it includes an 11% upfront increase. So if they're getting an 11% increase when the contract is ratified by the members, Toyota's back there like, all right, we'll do 9.
Yeah,
we'll do
right.
9.
Yeah, they're never going to be able to match it, but they knew they had to do something. Yeah.
So Toyota people who are going to be getting a 9% raise, that didn't just happen because you're nice guys. It didn't happen because you work hard, even though you do, I'm sure. It happened because unions are getting more money, and Toyota doesn't want all of its employees to be running to these other plants. So
exactly.
So the power of this strike is pretty widespread. And one other notable thing about it is that Sean Fain set the expiration date for these agreements to be April 30th, 2028. So he encouraged other unions that reach contracts to set their expirations on that very same day, because
following day,
after the last day of April, is the first day of May, which is known as May Day.
Yes.
And in countries all over the world, it's International Workers' Day. So his thought is this could be a major thing in 2028 if these companies don't re-up contracts. And companies, he's inviting people in every industry to do this. You could have a day where multiple enormous industries go out on strike on May 1st.
On May 1st, which would be great. And that's really what May Day is for. Unlike Labor Day, which we talked about in our previous episode, which was almost like a concession, May Day is really about rallying organized labor and our cause. And that would be really, really interesting if you have all these unions going on strike on May Day. I mean, that would be just a whirlwind of activity. So, that's a pretty savvy move.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, he's certainly a confident guy, and he said after this strike, we can beat anybody, even Elon Musk. So the UAW has set up negotiating or an organizing committee with the biggest Tesla plant, which is out in Fremont, California.
Yep.
So they are working on Tesla right now.
And what's going on in Sweden?
So Tesla has not signed wage agreements with its repair shops in Sweden. So all of these repair shops, the employees have just walked out, which is interesting for, if you have a workforce that can be easily replaced, an executive could play with them a little bit and threaten to bring in replacement workers. But when it's Tesla, I mean, I would think that the technology behind those cars
specialized
is
work.
Pretty specialized. So if you lose all of your maintenance people in a whole country, it's going to be pretty difficult to replace them.
Yeah.
But I like it. I mean, it's an interesting thing, and it kind of goes along with the way that UAW took on this strike, which is let's try things a little bit differently. Let's go after the supply chain portions of this. Let's
slow play it.
Yeah, if things are going well, we're not going to expand the strike, but if you drag your feet, we're going to come after facilities that are really near and dear to sort of encourage you to get back to the table. And clearly it worked because they got a heck of a deal. So I'll tell you what, we've got to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes right here with more Workers' Mic on 720 WGN. Welcome back to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. I'm Ed Maher, and sitting with me today is Phil Davidson. And if you were listening on the previous segment, we talked a little bit about UAW, but we're going to shift gears, no pun intended, a little bit here. Phil, you like that?
I like that.
That's what we call a transition.
Yeah, that's why you're a pro.
And a pun. Thank you. I've been thinking about that one all week.
Yeah. You need a little self-esteem boost after that comment made to you
after
earlier.
Ben calling me fat.
Yeah.
It really hurt. I put on a smile, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
But do you watch Formula One?
I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I know it's very popular. My brother-in-law, friend of the show, Brian Shan, is a diehard. I don't know much about it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So Formula One, it seems like during the pandemic or just a couple of years before the pandemic, Netflix came out with a show about Formula One.
Yes.
And it's been exploding in growth across the country for the last, through the pandemic and since, and to the point where they used to have a race in Texas.
Yeah, and these are street races.
Right.
Okay.
Well, they had a circuit race around a track in Texas, and then they built sort of a circuit around a parking lot in Miami. And now they're doing one this year in Vegas. It's coming up later this month.
Is that going to be a street race or circuit?
It's going to be a street race.
Cool.
It's insane.
Cool.
They have part of the strip that's blocked off for it, but it's going to be nuts. And I think it starts at like midnight. So it's a night race on a Saturday night in Vegas. And you can't get a room in Vegas for this weekend for less than, $10,000.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the wealthy and powerful will descend upon Vegas for this race. And I think the reason that this is interesting is there's been so much buildup to it, and there's a culinary workers union out in Vegas that is planning to go on strike about 5 days before the race later this month.
Good timing.
Yeah, so culinary workers at Caesars, Wynn, and MGM hotel groups, it's 18 hotels out in Vegas.
Wow.
Are planning to go out. They're asking for wage raises and then, interestingly, more safety buttons. So I think we were talking a little bit about it with Karen Kent from Unite here when she was in a few weeks ago. But if you are in a hallway or you open up a guest room and something's going on and, somebody whatever, something happens
It
to
is
these
Vegas.
folks that work in,
Right, yeah.
in hotels or work in kitchens. They just want more safety buttons. So
And that like alerts security or something?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's kind of like, you're out in a parking lot and you see the blue,
Yeah.
when you're out by, especially on university campuses, you see the blue light and you can run to it and hit the button. But I'm interested to learn more about what's going on that the safety buttons are such an important thing. But between job security, they haven't gone into exactly the level of wage rates that they're looking for, but they've said that it's considerable. So these culinary workers are asking folks.
Are they without a contract?
So the contract is about to expire.
Okay.
It seems like negotiations have gone absolutely nowhere, and so they're expecting to walk out, and that would begin, like I said,
5 days before the race.
4 or 5 days before
Yeah.
the race. So they
Good chance that could get resolved before that race.
I would say
Yeah.
that the casinos have a real incentive
Yeah.
to do that. They're all coming off of that enormous hack. Did you read about the what do they call that when hackers take your system and they lock it up and they hold it for ransom?
Oh,
What do
yeah.
they call that? There's a name for it. I forget. My IT department is always saying that I'm
Not phishing?
something like that. I can't
Yeah.
remember, but they it's like ransomware.
Ransomware.
Yeah, so all
yeah.
all the casinos in Vegas
Trojan
just
horse.
had like enormous losses from ransomware, like all their guest records and credit cards
Yikes.
for reservations, all this stuff. So
Yeah, the last thing they need is a work stoppage. That's gonna. I
strike
mean, because you're right,
during a
they
big
could
money
probably
weekend.
get minimum $1,000 a night for a race like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's way beyond that. I mean,
Oh,
the
really?
packages for this, because I'd love to go see it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I can't afford to be
Packages
in
are
the
out
state of Nevada for that weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's all just corporate accounts that are going to be paying for it. So
Yeah.
interesting kind of show of leverage from the culinary workers.
Yeah,
union.
good for them. Who represents them?
I think it's just I'm not sure the name of the union.
okay.
It's I think it's just a culinary workers union.
Yeah.
Shame on me for not having
No,
that.
no, I
We'll,
was
we'll
just-
just edit that out and
Got
I'll
it.
say
Yeah,
something
sorry to put you
far,
on the
far
spot
more
there.
professional. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. It's got a real jerk move by me.
How about it, Phil? Take it easy on me. And one of the other things that happened this week that was interesting was the United Nations, of all things, came out against Walmart, Amazon, and DoorDash in the United States
I heard about this.
for
Yes.
trapping workers in poverty. So they said in America, the number one employer that has people working for them on food stamps and Medicaid is Walmart.
Is Walmart? Yeah.
Now, this is no surprise to anybody who lives in this world day to day, but they're essentially saying that it's not illegal, but there are so many loopholes that have been left in the U.S. employment law that these companies are just exploiting.
Yeah.
And you have all these workers, and I mean, especially around the holidays, Walmart, it's not uncommon for them to have collection boxes in like the staff break areas where they're asking staff to
support
donate
themselves.
food
Yes.
to other staff members
Yeah.
so they have something to eat.
That's sad.
It's outrageous.
Yeah.
It should make people angry because the companies that we're talking about, Amazon, Walmart, DoorDash, they're the top companies that are guilty of doing this. And Amazon is not a company with a little bit of money. Walmart is not a company with a little bit of money. So you have these enormous companies that are profitable, extremely profitable, and they're
Largest companies in the world.
And the reason it's not like the reason that they're so profitable is because they don't pay people that work for them. Like if you want to
It's
go
off the
work for
backs
one
of
of these
cheap labor.
crazy successful companies, you're going to be on Medicaid. You're going to be on food stamps. It should make people angry, and I guess it has with the UN. The UN doesn't wade into these waters very often.
No,
but,
was it like a resolution that they passed?
it was a staffer in some like a labor council part of the UN, and he just put a letter out to the U.S. Department of Labor about it. So,
yeah, that's shameful.
yeah, but we've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we actually recorded a segment earlier this week with Megent Financial, and we've got Tim Holubik.
Tim Holubik.
And we're
Firefighter.
going to Tim Holubik. So we'll holla back at you in just a minute. It's another one. You like that one?
That's very good.
I'm getting pretty
That's
good
a
at
good,
this.
good reference for the young kids out there.
Holla back. Thank you, Phil.
And Ken will be back.
And Ken will be back. So
Yeah.
Ken was in on this interview. So
Yeah.
anybody who needs their Ken fix, stay with us because we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right here on 720 WGN.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN, powered by the Midwest Coalition of Labor. I'm Ken Edwards with the MCL. Sitting to my right is Ed Maher.
Hey.
Sitting to my left is Phil Davidson. And And we're super stoked today to have with us Tim Holubik. Tim, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming. And you are with Megent Financial.
Correct. I'm a financial advisor with Megent Financial.
And before we get to Megent, you have another job. What is that job?
I'm a Chicago firefighter, Local 2.
Super cool.
Yes.
And Local 2 is solely Chicago, correct?
Correct.
And you have to live in the city to be a Local 2 firefighter, right?
Yes, I do.
Any city employee, you got to live in the city of Chicago.
Exactly.
So I'm going to take a guess. I'm just going to think here for a second. I'm going to go with South Side.
Correct.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, there's a lot on the north side, too. Don't sell us short.
They're like 3.
They have fires up there too.
Yeah.
They have to come from the South Side to put them out.
Norwood Park, represent.
There you go. All right, Edison Park and all those places. Yeah, I hear you. All right, so listen.
But it's literally one of those two options.
Right, correct. There's not a lot of in between.
Just like Beverly, Mount Greenwood.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you're born and raised in Chicago?
Correct. My dad was a Chicago firefighter as well, so
super
grew up
cool.
in the same area I live now.
I love it. And so, explain to me, like, you firefighter first and then financial advisor?
Yeah, always. Yeah, I always say, fire department. That's why I joined. I joined for a reason. That's always going to be, my number one job, my main focus.
But what made you decide to go into financial advising?
So I've always been interested in finances in general, stocks, bonds, name the whole thing. But, when I graduated from college, I got into the fire academy.
Right.
And obviously during the fire academy, I've been on for about 7.5 years now. So this is back in 2016.
Right.
We had a lot of stuff thrown at us. Not only are we worrying about our training, we're worrying about starting a new job, maybe moving to a new house. But when you're in the academy, you also have to worry about, okay, so I had getting all these different things thrown at me. Hey, you got to contribute to this retirement plan. Hey, this is what you're going to be getting from your pension. Hey, you should buy this in life insurance.
Right.
So I personally saw there was a need for it. And I had kind of a background going to school for that stuff.
Right.
So when I graduated the academy, got off my probationary period. During the probationary period, we can't have another job. And I went and took all my series exams, which are the licenses that we need to become full-blown financial advisors.
Sure.
And for a few years, I just kind of worked on my own out of my house, just helping police officers and firefighters with their finances.
Because that was your wheelhouse, right?
Correct.
That's your world.
Yep.
Okay. And do you see a need for that in terms of firefighters and police officers?
Absolutely. I mean, I see a need for it in any blue-collar industry or area. As we know, not enough of us have pensions.
That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And which means that not a lot of financial advisors know about them.
Right.
So we know that we're going to be getting this defined benefit plan in retirement.
Yes.
So we have to plan differently than your average American who's out in corporate America who's not receiving those pensions.
Right.
And I think some of the information that's out there is misleading because we kind of put everybody under this one blanket. Hey,
Sure.
you start a job, you contribute to your 401k. Hopefully you have enough in there. That's what you're going to have to live off of in retirement.
And they ignore the pension.
Correct.
And you guys have pension through the city?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And when can you retire? Just FYI.
So generally we can retire at any time after 50, but you have to have a certain amount of years in. You want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row and you're going to be eligible to take your pension without getting those large reductions that we know of.
And do you guys also have a 401k?
We do not. We have a deferred comp 457 plan.
457, sorry. Okay.
Yep.
And that's contributed to by the employer?
False. No, so we actually contribute.
Wow.
Ooh, ouch.
Oh, sorry.
Coming at you.
I think it's called...
No, more of that.
Yeah,
please.
no.
You're wrong,
Call him out
Ken.
at any
You are
time.
wrong.
Yeah.
You are a liar.
You think you know everything?
Yeah, that one slipped out. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
No.
No, it's all good.
He's blunt. It's okay.
Yeah.
Talk straight here.
Yeah. So
Straight Talk
it's
Express.
solely contributed by you guys.
Correct. And there's no match.
No match whatsoever.
No.
All right. And then, so basically, up to whatever the max is that you want to contribute, you can.
Yeah, generally it's $22,500 a
Okay.
year. And we contribute to that. It's obviously voluntary.
Yeah.
And that's just an extra pot of money that we'll have in retirement in addition to our defined
So,
benefit plan.
like I've always heard from from Ron and other Ron Whittingham, president of Megent Financial, that retirement is like a stool, and you need different legs of the stool, right?
Correct.
So you guys have a pension, and then, like you said, you have your 457. Do you guys get Social Security or no?
So we do not.
You don't get Social Security, and this is a common misnomer,
It's the case with
right?
a lot of public employees. Right?
Yeah, it's a myth. Like, oh my God, they're getting a pension, they're getting all this, and they're getting Social Security. No, a lot of them do not get Social Security.
No, correct. I mean, you can, if you've worked for somewhere else in the past,
Sure,
right, you can be eligible for Social Security, but
right.
there is something called the windfall elimination period, and you will generally take reductions on your Social Security payments because you're working for.
So you and your coworkers and your brothers and sisters in the fire department, and I'm going to lump police in here for a second as well, are really, you're counting on people that understand your unique set of benefits, because what you just described is not the normal average American, right? You have a pension, you have a defined benefit, a 457 that you contribute to, but nobody else does, and you don't get Social Security. That's a relatively unique set of circumstances.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you, Megent Financial, right? You yourself,
yep.
I assume, number one, you probably have the trust of your brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
Because you do what they do.
Exactly.
Right? And number two, you understand that particular world pretty well.
Exactly.
So you can advise them, and you can actually give, like, look, I can't give financial advice, right?
Yep.
I mean, I could.
You really shouldn't.
Yeah.
I have no idea
You're
what
looking
I'm
to go
talking
broke,
When
Dr.
I got
Ken.
here this
Yeah.
morning, Ken was sleeping in his car.
again. But, it's interesting. So we...
Buy high, sell low.
Thanks, Phil. So we, Tim, we from the union land, right? So Ed, myself, and Phil, we get these questions all the time. Like, what should I do? Like, how should I do this? What should I do here? How should I do this? Technically, we're not allowed to give you financial planning advice, right? But you are.
Correct. Yes.
So somebody comes to you and says, hey,
Licensed.
you're licensed, right? Somebody comes to you and says, hey, and do you have to sign up with you to establish that fiduciary?
No, you do not. Like I said, everything that we do, our main goal is to educate the members on what benefits are provided to them. So, they have all these benefits that are coming to them, whether it be a pension, whether it be health insurance, whether it be an annuity, a 401k. And then what we do is we kind of review that with them, and we explain it to them. We get their pension statements. We work with a lot of these fund offices that work with the unions.
Right.
So we make sure that we have all the information that we need to show them, hey, this is what you're going to be getting in retirement. Now, what do we need to do to work around that to kind of paint the picture and make sure that we're able to supplement those benefits throughout your retirement?
I think, number one, first of all, thank you for doing that for labor and for your brothers and sisters, because I think it's important. Another thing I think that's unique, as a matter of fact, I know it's unique about not the firefighters that you work for, but Megent Financial, is that you guys solely focus on unions.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And it's a different world.
All of our clients are union members, and they have pensions. Obviously, we will work with family members and friends if they need help.
Yeah, of course.
But the good majority of our clients, almost 100% of them, do have defined benefit pension plans.
And I think a lot of the blue-collar workers assume that they don't make enough money to even need financial advising. Dispel that myth for them, and it does. This is, you don't have to be.
So that's what hurts our feelings the most.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Is somebody who doesn't give us a call.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth my time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
We work, like I said, with only labor unions and their members and families. And it doesn't matter if you have $100 or $1 million. Our main job and our agreement with working with these union members is that, hey, doesn't matter how much money you have, we're going to sit down, we're going to review all the benefits that you're going to be receiving. If nothing comes of it after that, doesn't matter.
Sure.
Right? So we did our job. We gave you a better understanding of what your financial picture is going to look like in retirement. Mm-hmm.
And how much does it cost for that firefighter to sit down with you?
$0.
Nothing. Free. That's a good price.
Very good.
And what's the downside, right? What's the downside to sitting down for free?
There is no, at least you know more about your benefits than you did before.
I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that said, we were chatting about this yesterday with laborers. I sat down with Megent Financial, and I realized I should have retired 3 years ago. I'm actually losing money by working here.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what I mean, you want to talk about good news? Like, that's really good news.
Yeah.
You know, so that's your world. And then on top of this, if you're in the MCL, you guys give MCL members a discount.
Correct.
So how do you make money? You make money where somebody takes that 457 or 401 or whatever it is, and they invest it with you guys when they retire.
I mean, generally, a lot of our members, we start out with them early on in their career, right? So
you might be advising somebody for 20 years before they retire, and that's all, just it's goodwill.
I have several 20-something-year-olds, 30-something-year-olds that are my clients.
Good
right?
for them.
And I'm explaining to them at an early age, hey, this is what it's going to look like. I can actually calculate out, this is what's going to look like, when you're of retirement age.
Can you talk to my son, because he gave me a lesson in economics yesterday that said I'm going to pull my money out of my investment account because I lost $150. I'm like, I don't think that's the way to do it. Yeah, no, I'm telling you that's the way to do it. I'm like, no, it's not.
What's he want to invest it in?
I bet I know.
It rhymes with weed. That's a joke. I'm kidding.
Yeah, for those younger members.
That's a depreciating asset right there.
No, but for those younger members, right? I mean, you're going to talk to them about like, hey, I'm going to have a kid. Should I start a 529 plan? Should I save for college? Should I buy a house? Should I refi? What does this look like? How much house can I afford? I mean, you're with that person, like you said, for 20 years, and then you get that goodwill. And, look, it's similar to a lot of our vendors that play the long game. And that long game is, I'm with you from day one to the day you walk out the door. And quite frankly, if you pass away, I'll sit with your spouse and tell her what to do with the money and how to do it. Because I know you guys do that too.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't end at retirement. I tell guys and girls that all the time. This does not end at retirement. I'm going to be with you for the rest of your life, whether I'm managing your money or, God forbid, something happens to you and your wife is owed benefits. We're going to be the ones that help with all that paperwork, make sure that everybody who needs to get paid gets paid.
And something that's important that I think we should mention also, something that's unique about Megent in comparison to other financial advisors perhaps, is that you are a fiduciary. You serve as a fiduciary to your clients. So if they ask you for advice, you're not just giving them the products that make you the most money. You are obligated to provide them advice that's in their interest, in their best interest. It's going to benefit them, not benefit you. And I think there are a lot of people who think of financial advisors as maybe people who are trying to confuse them, or they're going to get confused. They don't know about this world, so it's maybe they're uncomfortable going into it. But knowing that you're there and you're obligated to give them good advice for them, I think is really important.
Absolutely, and like I said, being a fiduciary, that's the highest standard for a financial advisor. And just like you said, we have to do what's in the best interest of the client.
But there are unscrupulous financial advisors out there, right?
No. I don't believe it, Ken.
I'm not going to talk down about any other advisors, but you do got to be careful with who you're choosing to work with. Make sure they understand your benefits.
Tim, I was on the phone the other day, and a member called, actually a financial advisor called me out of the blue and said, hey, I just need to know about so-and-so's members. I'm like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I work for blank, And I'm like, I'm not talking to you about one of my members', benefits or finances. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, I'm like, there's no just. Let's get the member on the phone.
Exactly.
And I get the member on the phone. I'm like, you want me talking to this guy? And he's like, well, I'm like, hang up, guy. And I talk to the member. I'm like, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to pick up the phone and call Megent Financial.
Right. And there's a process that we follow at Megent. So we don't just randomly call people, right? And
no,
say,
you're not soliciting.
Hey, we work with Local 150 or Local 399 or Local 134. We do have a process, and what the member needs to do is they sign something called a consent form. Okay. Basically, what that consent form says is, hey, I give Megent Financial permission to go ahead and pull my statements, figure out what my benefits are. And we have to make sure that they sign off on that. And that,
yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah, correct.
Listen, if you're just joining us, we've been talking with Tim Holubik, Chicago Local 2 firefighter, union member.
Hubba hubba.
He's actually wearing his uniform in here.
Yeah. Well,
ladies.
Yeah. You're looking for somebody to buy a drink after the show.
Yeah.
And because it is 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Hey, there's people out there.
You work the night shift, right?
That's right.
That's
24 on.
That's right. So but he's also a financial advisor with Megent Financial. And, once again, I think that, if we're getting this right, and I think we are, meaning the MCL, number one, we're telling our people, how to live your best life, quite frankly, right? We're not shoving things down your throat. We talked about insurance some time ago, and we're telling people, like, you need less life insurance as you get closer to retirement. You don't need all that money, whereas most places are just sell, right? Yep. And we're telling people how to transfer wealth, that the 1%ers of the world, they've always known this. And we're just figuring this out, or at least I am. I don't know. But you get a life insurance policy is tax-free, right? Get a trust, move your money tax-free. Get good financial advice on the front end and during your career, and you're going to retire very happy and have a good life. And I think one of the things, I'm putting words in your mouth for a quick second, that Megent does and does well is they take people like you, right? Like, that's a smart hire. I'm going to hire somebody that's a firefighter because I don't know about the firefighters, but this guy does. And, he's a financial planner, right? I know they've hired people from the trades and things like that. It's a smart play, and it's the long play. So they're not greedy. And, you guys are doing a good job. I will tell you this and take this back, Tim, to Local 2, because I actually met with them once. They're not members of the MCL. And if they were, they would get a slight discount on your fee. Right?
Interesting.
That's correct.
I'm just
The plot
Never
thickens.
misses a chance.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Local 2, if you're listening, join the MCL because Tim's signing up right now as we speak.
Yeah.
Actually, Tim signed up on behalf of all of you. How many firefighters are there?
It's a large number. I mean, that includes paramedics as well. I don't know the exact number, but
It's in the thousands.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, listen, on top of what you do for Megent and for the brothers and sisters, we certainly appreciate what you do for the city of Chicago. Can't tell you how important I think that is. I know you guys agree with me, Ed and Phil.
Oh, absolutely.
We support our firefighters.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
All
Yeah.
our first responders.
Absolutely. So we got to wrap this up. We've been talking with Tim Holubik from Megent Financial right here on 720 WGN.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Workers' Mic right here on 720 WGN. Thanks for sticking with us. Hope you enjoyed the segment with Megent Financial. I know I did. How about you, Phil?
Fantastic stuff. Tim's great.
Yeah, I always get a little bit excited when a firefighter's around. It's good to
Yeah.
have him in the studio.
Yeah.
So we're running toward the end of the show, but I had one thing that I wanted to bring up, and it's kind of interesting because, Phil, you're from the Carpenters Union, the Mid-America Carpenters Regional Council, and your union has really taken a lead on fighting against wage theft, especially in Illinois.
We go hard on wage theft, man.
Yeah, and it's not even an issue that only affects union members. You're taking up this fight on behalf of ordinary workers who don't even understand that their employers are robbing them.
Yeah. No, we've provided thousands of dollars to construction workers who aren't even members of our union who are getting screwed over
Yeah.
by their employers. Yeah, it's for everybody.
Yeah, and it's a problem that people need to know more about, and something that there was some big news in the state of New York where Uber and Lyft have I don't think they came to a settlement where I think they didn't admit any wrongdoing, but in a big wage theft investigation, they settled where they're going to have to pay $328 million back to drivers in the state of New York because
Are they classified as employees there?
they're not.
Okay.
But that's an interesting question,
Yeah.
and I've got a little something in this that kind of plays to that. But $328 million, these companies were charging drivers fees and taxes that are only supposed to be charged to riders. So, the drivers didn't realize this. It was investigated. Lyft is going to pay $328 million into a fund where some of these drivers can, file a claim. It's like a
To be reimbursed?
class action type of a thing. Where
Okay,
they'll get like
so there's a
a flat amount.
Yep.
So it's a pity because you think of Uber, Lyft drivers, they're not making a ton of money. They're out working, day and night, and these people are just being ripped off. But as part of the settlement, Uber and Lyft are also going to have to start making regular payments into New York State's unemployment fund,
Oh.
which people think like this is a nudge toward
They are
considering
employers.
these people employers
Right.
rather than just contracting out to people. So there's still a long way to go on that.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to actually give their drivers any sort of rights or privileges. So they have to continue to call them contractors or gig workers, and as we call them in most other industries. But this is a big deal moving forward.
That is big, yeah. I wonder if it'll hit Illinois at some point.
I would wonder
Assume
if it's
so.
just there's probably similar taxes, and if they've been charging them wrong, then
Yeah. Illinois loves a class action lawsuit.
there's no question about it. I got $7.20.
I just got my check
from
too. Yeah,
Facebook,
yeah.
and
Thank
I thought
you.
to myself, $7.20.
There you
There
go.
it is.
There you go. Always think about the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the things that's going on in the workforce at large in the country is sort of how old good jobs have been transferred into just gigs, where there are no benefits, there's no type of job security. So
Yeah, you're
this
on
is the
your
type
own.
of stuff that happens. If you don't have a lawyer, if you don't have an employer, if you don't have any sort of structure between you and your employer, they can just rip you off and you may not even know it's happening. So,
Yep. Organize, organize, organize.
yeah, so hats off to the state of New York for fixing the problem there. But we've got to wrap up. So, Phil,
Yeah, that was a fun one.
good show. Always a pleasure. Look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you on next Sunday morning.
Yes, you as well.
Yeah, stay warm, or stay cool, I should say. It's going to be nice for the next couple of days. So,
Yeah, man. Good luck with your candy detox.
yeah, I'm still got the shakes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben, for all of your love and support from the booth over there. I can see you laughing. So I'll see you laughing again next Sunday morning right here on 720 WGN.